So it is general principle of performing any activity. What is the philosophy behind this new design? That is the first thing you should be having in your mind, because you would be the one who will be leading this revolution once you are acquainted with the knowledge, and you will be the one who will be taking it forward over the time. So the fundamental aspect of this new UI is humanizing the software experience. Now, why we need to humanize it? Your customer at the end is going to use your solution. So for example, if this is your customer and they are using the application which you are built, they will be mostly going into the application with the UI which you have provided. Now, what happens to the UI? Now, this customer has certain type of persona. What I mean by persona is how we can categorize this person, which is our customer. Is it a young person or is it an older person? Now, why I'm saying it? Because depending on those parameters, the usability of your application will vary. Now, is it located in a geography where openness is accepted, or the user is located in a geography where openness is not accepted? So these are all the factors. What the age group? What is the ethnicity? What is the mindset of your customer? And are they willing to experiment on the UI, or they are very closed? What is the working condition in which this person actually works? Are they using the application on the run, in the metros, in the bus station, in the factory floors, or they are sitting at the desk and working on the application? Your UI design will be completely different if some of the critical parameters change. So, persona of the customer, I will say persona here because these are all the parameters. So, persona of your customer decides what is the design which the application will be having. And then the term humanizing came into picture. You need to make the application in such a way that it should be at the end of the day usable by your customer, and depending on what circumstances your customer is working, how he is able to use the application, your application should adapt to that. Now the next point came here is design innovation. You will be hearing about a lot in design innovation. Now what happens when we say this design is really an innovative design? How would I judge that? How would I say that one application which is delivered to me is really innovative? What is the criteria? The criteria is it takes into consideration three factors. The first factor is it meets the business purpose. Application doesn't perform the business use case here, then it is of no use. So your application should fundamentally do first thing that it should meet the criteria to doing business, because we are talking about enterprise application. So it should be fundamentally effective in terms of business. Then the second thing is people. The people we talk about persona, it should really be designed for those people, understanding what circumstances they work on and understanding how they will be using the application. Will they be comfortable in using the application for the purpose they are using? If I'm trying to create an application for project management, will I have a timeline or should I have a vertical scroll? So all this factor comes into picture of how your user is using the application. The user is using the application in mobile devices. You cannot have horizontal scrolls. This is one simple example. You have to have vertical scrolls. If they are using in bigger screens, you can have horizontal scroll. So this is one simple example of how the people aspect should come into picture. And also understanding that the user, which is the people, they are of primary importance because they will be at the end using the application to drive the business output. So is it easy for them to work on the application, or is it hard for them to work on the application? So you have to make the application simple. Bringing simplicity sometimes is the hardest part of any challenge solving. So you have to make the application simple. Doesn't mean that it is easy to do. When you encounter in the coming sections some of the assignments and exercises, when we talk about bringing simplicity, it's now even sometimes becomes more difficult to really make a design or a challenge solved by a design to make it simple. So at the point, what I'm trying to say is that if you want to make something simple, the process itself sometimes is not easy. Now, the final part is tech part. Now, we are making application for the enterprise, so the technology should also support it. I cannot make some of the application which are not supported by the current technology which is available to me. So what we have browser, web browser capability to render application, integration with the backend. So let me draw that. So we have the front end. The front end can be built with high-end JavaScript frameworks, which has the capability to render beautiful and amazing design with CSS. So if I use CSS3, the application can exceed and adapt any kind of design which you can think about. Plus, I can have JavaScript, HTML5. So those I have availability. I can make use of the existing frameworks like jQuery and build something called the UI5 framework where I define my own components so my developers don't have to really work very hard to start development from scratch. So that is where the technology enablement is required. And when this application communicates to my existing ERP, it can be in cloud, it can be on-premise, or it can be in any other system which I wish, a third-party system, it should be supported. So we have support from OData as well. So these three building blocks which should come together to make it possible to bring design innovation. So at the end, your design innovation can have three major bottlenecks. Because if your design, which is very innovative, much easier for your user to use, doesn't have business requirement fulfillment, people or your customer will not adopt it. If the business requirement is fulfilling, people are very happy with the design which is in the paper, but it cannot be implemented technically, then it cannot be created. So that doesn't also fit the picture. And the third piece of puzzle is it does the work. It is feasible to make, but people are not happy or are able to use it properly. It's very difficult for people to use it, then it will not be effective. So all the three parts are important, and for you who are the future designer for UI5 and Fiori application, they should always keep in mind, because from now onwards we will be going into more and more technical part, but they should always keep in mind that your design should be humanized. Your customer, your users, you're going to sell to them. They might be sold by their supervisor or subordinates. They might need it critically, they will accept it. But as a designer, you should always try to make the design simple for people, effective for the business, and technically feasible. That is what you should do, and bring an element of humanization in the design. So that is the mindset you should have when you are a UI5 and Fiori designer or a user experience designer for SAP Enterprise Solution. So let's move forward and try to understand what are the 6 principles which is written clearly that you need to follow, and when are the circumstances when you can break those rules. So let's go ahead in the next section and understand this in much detail.